Okay, we have 3 books today. First, we've got Disney Princess, 5 Enchanting Tales. So we'll read the first one, which is called Kiss the Frog. Tiana works hard. She has no time for fun. She has a dream. She wants to own her own restaurant. Prince Naveed likes to have fun. He loves music. He visits New Orleans. Facilier is a bad man. He plans to trick Naveen. Facilier uses black magic. He turns Prince Naveed into a frog. Tiana goes to a costume party. She wishes on a star. She wishes for her restaurant. Naveen sees her. Tiana meets Naveen. She looks like a princess. Naveen thinks her kiss will make him human. He wants to kiss Tiana. Tiana kisses Naveen, but she is not a real princess. The kiss does not work. Naveen is still a frog. Tiana turns into a frog too. Tiana and Naveen get lost. They do not like being frogs. They do not like each other. They meet Louis the alligator. Naveen has fun. Tiana does not. The frogs try to catch a bug. They get stuck together. Oh, look at all of their tongues all stuck together. Ray is a firefly. He helps the frogs. They all become friends. Tiana shows Naveed how to cook. They like each other now. Tiana and Naveed find Mama Odie. She makes good magic. She can help them. Mama Odie shows Naveed a princess. He must kiss her. Then he and Tiana will become human again. Tiana and Naveed are happy. And they are in love. Naveen kisses a princess, but it's too late. The spell does not break. Naveen is still a frog, and Tiana is still a frog. Tiana and Princess Naveed go back to Mama Odie, and they get married. Now Tiana is a real princess. They kiss. Poof! They both become human again. Tiana's dream comes true. She gets her restaurant. She has love. She has everything she needs. Well, not everything. Maybe she could use God too, right? Not magic. So that is Kiss the Frog. And that is from the movie The Princess and the Frog. Right? What's her name, guys? Can you say it? That's right, Tiana. Okay. Next book. This is for boys. What book do you think we're going to read, guys? That's right. We're going to read more superheroes today. We already read Dino Time. How about we read No Iron Team? Because that'll teach us to be teammates and not thinking about ourselves. Clint Barton and Natasha Romanoff, better known to the world as Hawkeye and Black Widow, practice together every morning. One day they decide to train in the park. The two old friends playfully ran through their exercises, trying to outdo one another. Natasha, wanna make training a little more interesting? Hawkeye said. What do you mean? Said Black Widow. I bet you a big breakfast that I can hit that target from 100 yards. Please, Natasha snorted. You could do that in your sleep. Do it with one more arrow, and maybe I'll be impressed. Okay, how about 3 at once? Said Clint. Black Widow grinned. This I have to see. She rubbed her stomach. I can't wait for breakfast. Hawkeye loaded 3 arrows into his bow. He pulled back on the bowstring, then shot all 3 towards the target at once. Each arrow hit the bullseye. Think you can top that, Natasha? He smirked. I can do that with my eyes shut. Black Widow closed her eyes and shot 2 bolts from her Widow's Bite gauntlets. Both shots hit the target in the tiny space between Hawkeye's 3 arrows. Well, okay then, Hawkeye said with a laugh. I guess hitting targets is one thing, but who do you think is better at stopping actual bad guys? Me. Definitely, Natasha said. I'm not so sure. Natasha smiled. You think you're the best? Let's find out. Why don't we split up today and see who can stop the most bad guys? You're on. What do I win? Black Widow asked. If you win, you mean, Hawkeye said. The winner gets the honor of being the best superhero ever. Black Widow seemed doubtful. And breakfast for a week, Hawkeye added. Deal, said Black Widow. Hawkeye extended his hand to shake on it, but Black Widow was already off. Hawkeye looked around. There'd been some rumors about strange lights deep in the forest. He decided to check it out. As he crept through the forest, he heard the buzzing and whirring of machines. Hawkeye slipped behind a large tree trunk and peeked around the side. He saw a squad of robots patrolling the edge of the woods, clearing a path towards the city with their lasers. Huh? Hawkeye thought. What kind of robot does landscaping? Hawkeye leapt up onto a nearby stump and drew an arrow. Hey, bug bots, what you doing? The robot stopped and turned to face Hawkeye. Hello, he said. The robots all began firing at Hawkeye with their lasers. He dove down and took cover. Was it something I said? The blasts continued to hit the area around him. In rapid succession, he snapped one arrow after another at the robots. Soon, there was only a pile of smoking metal rubble and sparking wires in the field. Hawkeye called Black Widow on his wrist communicator. I'm up to 10 already, Natasha. Are you sure you don't want to quit? I never quit, Natasha whispered, but I'll have to call you back, Clint. I'm in the middle of something. Black Widow knocked out some evil blue alien warriors, but she looked down at the shadowy black alley below. She saw a swirl of them advancing towards the city harbor. After taking a few running steps, Black Widow leapt off the roof into a mass of creatures below. Sorry to drop in unannounced, she said. The warriors immediately surrounded her, but Black Widow didn't flinch. She moved in a blur, kicking, punching, and blasting the warriors out of her way until the alley was clear. Her wrist comm rang again, just as the last warriors started charging her. Hang on, Clint. It's going to take me a while to count up these guys, she said, before sweeping the warrior's leg and dropping him into the ground into 2 quick but powerful moves. Natasha! Clint! Black Widow looked down at her wrist. Nick Fury was on the comm screen. We don't have time for games, Fury said. We're getting reports of a multi-alien invasion on the city. I just cleared a squad of robots in the forest, said Hawkeye. Black Widow nodded. And I just intercepted a troop of warriors in the warehouse district. So, it's already begun, Fury said. The communications are down. You need to get to S.H.I.E.L.D. heliport as soon as possible. On Black Widow's motorcycle, she and Hawkeye scouted the downtown dockyards. Everything looked normal at first, but then the dock workers began to attack. They were guards in disguise. The men charged towards Hawkeye and Black Widow. "I'll drive," Black Widow shouted. "You clear a path." Black Widow leaned forward and accelerated. As they drove through the cluster of guards, Hawkeye fired at the bad guys from the back of the bike. They saw a heavily guarded warehouse ahead. "Looks like they infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D.'s heliport," Black Widow said. She skidded the bike to a halt. She and Hawkeye fought off the guards as they made their way to the door. "Whatever they're hiding must be important," Hawkeye said as he fired arrows 3 at a time into the throng. "Which means we need to find out what it is." Black Widow knocked 2 brutes out of the way with an expert roundhouse kick. "And stop it," Hawkeye finished for her. Together, the agents took down the guards one by one. Suddenly, they heard a loud noise. "Natasha, the door!" Hawkeye pointed to a large loading dock where a heavy steel gate was lowering. That was where they needed to go. "Quick, get in, and I'll disable the alarms," he said. Black Widow nodded and dove under the closing gate, while Hawkeye took out the alarm box with one precise shot. Black Widow opened the door again for Hawkeye. Once inside, they crept down a long hall that led to a large door. Clint pointed towards the door, then held up 2 fingers, letting Natasha know that there were 2 guards inside there. Natasha nodded and suddenly leapt out into the middle of the hall. She blasted both guards at once. "You could have left one for me," Hawkeye grumbled as he knelt down to hack the security pad. Just then, Nick Fury called in with an update. "Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man are busy fighting aliens on the bridges and tunnels to keep them from spreading to the tri-state area. You guys are in charge of shutting down the source." "Got it, agents?" "Got it," Hawkeye and Black Widow replied. The door slid open to reveal a courtyard, and Hawkeye and Black Widow both inhaled sharply. Hundreds of green brutes charged towards them. "So are we still keeping a tally?" Black Widow yelled as she began to blast through the Legion. Clint counted off each arrow strike with a smile. 22, 23, 24. After the invasion had been thwarted, Clint and Natasha returned to S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters for debriefing. "Great work," Nick Fury said. "You're definitely the best." Black Widow and Hawkeye glanced at each other. They didn't know who Fury meant. "That is, the best when you're working together," Fury added, giving them a stern look. Black Widow and Hawkeye smiled at each other. "I think we can agree on that," said Black Widow. "Definitely," Hawkeye said. "But can we still get breakfast? I'm hungry." So, there are things that come towards us in life where we have to ask for help, and it's not shameful, and it's not bad to ask for help. So if you need help, don't be ashamed to ask family members or your parents or your mom or your dad. Last book, let me just check here. Oh my gosh. Okay, this will be a little bit of a longer book, but whatever. This is for an older kid, but here we go. We are going to be reading Alice in Wonderland. So maybe for this book, you guys can settle down in your bed and use an iPhone or something, and maybe fall asleep while Daddy, the reader, reads this. Okay, here we go. Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Not a lot of pictures, so pay attention. Down the rabbit hole. One summer day, as Alice sat idly on the riverbank by her sister, she got very tired of having nothing to do. Once or twice, she peeked into her book her sister was reading, and it had no pictures or conversation in it. "And what is the use of a book?" thought Alice. without pictures or conversation. Just as she was trying to decide, as well as she could, for the hot, for the hot day made her feel sleepy, whether or not to get up and pick some daisies to make a daisy chain, a white rabbit with pink eyes dashed by. There was nothing so remarkable in that, nor did Alice think it so very unusual to hear the rabbit say to himself, oh dear, I should be late for a very important date." When she thought about it afterwards, it occurred to her that she ought to have wondered about that, but at the time, it all seemed quite natural. But when the rabbit actually took a watch out of his waistcoat pocket, looked at it, and then hurried on, Alice jumped to her feet, for she suddenly realized she had never before seen a rabbit with either a waistcoat pocket or a watch to take out of it. Burning with curiosity, she ran across the field after him, just in time to see him pop down a large rabbit hole under the hedge. Without a moment's hesitation, Alice jumped into the hole after him, never once considering how in the world she would get out again. The rabbit hole stretched straight ahead like a tunnel for some way, and then dropped off so suddenly that Alice didn't have a moment to think about stopping herself before she fell down a deep well. Either the well was very deep, or she fell slowly, and she had plenty of time as she went down to look about her and to wonder what was going to happen next. First, Alice tried to look around and make out what she was coming to, but it was too dark to see anything. Then she looked at the sides of the well and noticed that they were filled with cupboards and bookshelves. Here and there, maps and pictures hung upon pegs. She looked down a jar from one of the shelves as she passed. It was labeled orange marmalade, but to her disappointment, it was empty. Alice did not want to drop the jar for fear of killing something underneath, so she managed to put it into one of the cupboards as she fell past it. "Well," Alice thought to herself, "after a fall like this, I shall think nothing of tumbling downstairs. How brave they'll think me at home. Why, I wouldn't say anything about it, even if I fell off the top of the house." Down, down, down. Would the fall ever come to an end? "I wonder how many miles I've fallen," the amazed girl asked aloud. "I must be getting somewhere near the center of the earth. Let me see, that would be 4,000 miles down, I think." Alice had learned several things of this sort at school, though this was not a very good opportunity to show off her knowledge, as there was no one to listen to her. Still, it was good practice to repeat it. "But then I wonder what latitude and longitude I've reached," she said. Now, Alice didn't have the slightest idea what latitude and longitude were, but she thought they were nice grand words to say. Presently, she began again. "I wonder if I shall fall right through the earth. When I land, I shall have to ask people what is the name of their country. Please, ma'am, is this New Zealand or Australia?" Alice tried to curtsy as she spoke, but can you imagine curtsying as you fall through the air? Do you think you could manage it? "What an important little girl she'll think me of for asking," Alice said. "No, I'll never do to ask. Perhaps I shall see it written up somewhere." Down, down, down Alice fell. There was nothing else to do, so she began talking again, this time about her beloved cat Dinah. "Oh, Dinah will miss me very much tonight, I shall think," she cried. "Oh, and I hope the family will remember her saucer of milk at tea time. Dinah, my dear, I wish you were here with me. There are no mice in the air, I am afraid, but you might catch a bat, and that's very much like a mouse, you know. But do cats eat bats, I wonder?" And here Alice began to get rather sleepy, and went on talking to herself in a dreamy sort of way. "Do cats eat bats? Do cats eat bats?" Sometimes she asks, "Do bats eat cats?" For you see, as she couldn't answer either question, it didn't much matter which way she put it. She felt that she was dozing off and had just begun to dream that she was waking hand in hand with Dinah and was saying to her very earnestly, "Now, Dinah, tell me the truth. Did you ever eat a bat?" Suddenly Alice went thump, 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 and landed in a heap of sticks and dry leaves, and the fall was over. Alice was not hurt a bit and jumped to her feet in a moment. She looked up, but it was all dark overhead. Before her lay another long passage, and the White Rabbit was still in sight, hurrying down it. There was not a moment to be lost. Away flew Alice like the wind, and just in time to hear him say, as he turned the corner, "Oh, my ears and whiskers, how late it's getting!" She was close behind him when she rounded the corner, but the rabbit was nowhere in sight. Alice found herself in a long, low hall, which was lit up by a row of lamps hanging from the roof. There were doors all around the hall, but they were all locked. When Alice had been down one side and up the other, trying every door, she walked sadly down the middle. She couldn't help but wonder how she would ever get out again. Suddenly, Alice came upon a little three-legged table made of solid glass. There was nothing on it but a tiny gold key. Alice's first idea was that this might belong to one of the doors in the hall. But alas, either the locks were too large or the key was too small for them. At any rate, it would not open any of them. However, on the second time around, she noticed a low curtain she had not seen before. Behind it was a little door about 15 inches high. It's about that high. She tried the gold key in the lock, and to her delight it fit. She opened the door and found it led into a small passage not much larger than a rat hole. She knelt down and looked along the passage into the loveliest garden she'd ever seen. How she longed to get out of that dark hole and wander about among those beds of bright flowers and those cool fountains. But oh dear, she couldn't even get her head through the doorway. Even if my head could get through. Though the distraught girl, it would be of a little use without my shoulders. Oh, how I wish I could close up like a telescope. I wish I could, if I only knew how to begin. For so many out of the way things had happened lately that Alice had begun to think that very few things indeed were really possible. There seemed to be no use in waiting by the little door, so she went back to the table, half hoping she might find another key on it, or at any rate a book of rules for closing people up like telescopes. This time she found a little bottle on it, which certainly was not there before. Around the neck of the bottle was a little paper label with the words, "Drink me," beautifully printed on it in large letters. It was all very well to say "drink me," but Alice was a very wise girl and she was not going to do that in a hurry. "No, I'll look first," she said, "and see whether it's marked poison or not." She had read several nice little stories about children who had been burned up and eaten by wild beasts and other pleasant things, all because they would not remember the simple rules their friends had taught them. One was that a red-hot poker will burn you if you hold it too long. Secondly, if you cut your finger very deeply with a knife, it usually bleeds. She had never forgotten that. If you drink much from a bottle marked poison, it is most certain to disagree with you sooner or later. However, this little bottle seemed to be perfectly safe, so Alice ventured to taste it and found it delicious, with a sort of mixed flavor of cherry, tart, custard, pineapple, roast turkey, candy, and hot buttered toast. She soon finished it off. "What a curious feeling!" exclaimed Alice. "I must be closing up like a telescope." That's exactly what happened. She was only 10 inches high, and her face brightened up at the thought that she was now the right size to go through a little door into that lovely garden. First, however, she waited for a few minutes to see if it was going to shrink any further. She felt a little nervous about this. For it might end, you know, Alice said to herself. In my going out altogether like a candle, I wonder what I should be like then. And she tried to imagine what the flame of a candle looks like after the candle is blown out, for she could not remember ever having seen such a thing. After a while, finding that nothing more happened, she decided to go into the garden. But alas for poor Alice! When she got to the door, she discovered she had forgotten the little gold key. Quickly she returned to the table to get it, but now she found she could not possibly reach it. Alice could see the key quite plainly through the glass, and tried her best to climb one of the legs of the table, but it was too slippery. When she had tired herself out from crying, the poor exhausted child just sat down and cried. Come, there's no use in crying like that, Alice lectured herself. I advise you to stop this minute. She generally gave herself very good advice, though she seldom followed it. Sometimes she scolded herself so fiercely that she brought tears to her own eyes. Once she remembered trying to box her own tears for having cheated herself in a game of croquet she was playing against herself. This curious girl liked to pretend to be two people. But it's no use now, Alice thought, to pretend to be two people. Why, there's hardly enough of me left to make one complete person. Soon she spied a little glass box under the table. She opened it and found a small cake on which the words, "Eat me," were beautifully marked in currants. Well, I'll eat it, said Alice, and if it makes me grow larger, I can reach the key. If it makes me grow smaller, I can creep under the door. Either way, I'll get into the garden. Gingerly she ate a little bit and held her hand on top of her head to see which way she was growing. She was quite surprised to find that she remained the same size. To be sure, this is what generally happens when one eats cake. But Alice had gotten so used to unexpected things happening that it seemed quite dull and stupid for life to go on in the same old way. So she set to work and ate every morsel of the cake. All right, that's it for today. 3 books for lovely kids that are watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the books today, and hopefully you guys will have a good rest and be prepared for some books tomorrow. Have a good night.